That's obviously what they're doing. It's almost like some consultant or somebody sat down with these folks and was like, all right, let's just double your prices. And that's exactly what they decided to do. Well, folks, PSA is at it again. Massive price increases. Just announced today, hot off the press. We're going to have to talk a little bit about these changes. If I were to say like what's going to be the next moonward, like astronomical growth area for trading cards, it's going to be some of these registry sets because they're just getting so stupidly expensive to try to complete. Hey, what's going on, folks? Welcome back to the Parkside Merchant channel. Had to do a quick upload here today to talk a little bit about the breaking news of the day, which is some of these sweeping changes and announcements from PSA earlier today. Lots of big news in here. I just wanted to kind of weigh in here quick, give you some of my perspectives on the so what of some of these changes. There's a lot of people that have gone into detail about exactly what's changed. If you go onto the PSA website, you can see all this stuff firsthand. I mean, they've got a completely new pricing scheme. Everything's changed, it looks like, pretty much. And it's all gone up, unsurprisingly. So I think just kind of big picture, let me give you some of my perspectives on this stuff. So first of all, it's not a surprise to me at all that they did this. Anybody who is surprised by this doesn't know anything about how business works or how these companies operate or the purpose of some of the like venture guys or PE people that bought these guys out and took them private. I mean, this is not a surprise at all to anybody that knows a thing or two about how the business world works. I did a video about 2 weeks ago about how PSA is in a very unusual spot in this ecosystem where they can't really capture a lot of value from the market in any other way but price increases for their services or expanding into adjacencies, which I expect they're probably going to do as well. So I do recommend you check out the video that I did previously about why PSA can't sell cards and why they have to do other stuff like price increases and such in order to drive new revenue. But from my vantage point, it's not a surprise at all, right? They are a business. They're going to try and make as much money as possible. These folks are a highly transactional business, meaning that a lot of their revenue is dependent on just pushing volume of transactions, just getting cards graded and encapsulated. And if they either need to grade more cards or they need to just grade them at a higher price in order to get more money, right? They do have subscriptions and they have other things that generate revenue. I'm not saying it's the entire business, but when you've got a simple business model like this, which is you grade cards and you slab them, you either need to learn how to do that faster or you've got to build a better mousetrap, so to speak. You got to grade better than anyone else, which they kind of already do because they're the market leader, or you just have to jack your prices, basically. Those are some of the major easy ways that these guys can just drive up their numbers quite a bit. And that's obviously what they're doing. It's almost like some consultant or somebody sat down with these folks and was like, all right, let's just double your prices. And that's exactly what they decided to do. These prices, if you take a look at the numbers, are like literally almost double for a lot of these rates. So I do find that pretty interesting. I mean, from a business perspective, I think it's a pretty savvy move because they've got such a huge backlog already that anybody that just like wanted to send in junk cards to get graded, they've already done that. So now it's like the only people that are probably going to keep submitting cards to PSA over the next several years are people that are real serious about the collection hobby. And they're going to pay $20 a card if they're going to do a bulk submission. These are the people that will pay $20 a card, they'll pay $10 a card, maybe they'll pay $50 a card, right, in a bulk submission. A lot of the people that send bulk are like, you know, they're big stores or they're very wealthy investors. I mean, I guess another thing, folks, is like it obviously sucks. If you're one of those people that's trying to get onto the trading card train, you've missed the train, folks. It's left the station. You're going to be paying a lot of dollars to get involved in this stuff now because it's just getting more and more and more expensive. So I guess big picture, the change doesn't surprise me at all, right? I saw the email this morning from Joe Orlando, a whole bunch of announcements, most of which are just price increases. Not a shocker at all, right? These folks literally just went private in February. They just got bought out by some kind of PE firm or some similar type of entity that's basically trying to give this place a facelift and try to improve their productivity and jack up their numbers quite a bit. And step one of doing that is you increase your prices. Step two, which I would expect to see results of in the next several months, is going to be productivity improvements. These folks are going to start picking up the pace, I think, when it comes to flipping cards, right, and getting this stuff out the door. PSA bills after they ship, like literally as they're shipping a finished encapsulated product, which means that the faster that they can churn this stuff out of the factory, so to speak, the more they can bill people and the faster they can bill them. So the incentive of this firm and its venture backers and all these people is going to be to try to push cards as fast as possible. And I expect they're going to try to do that with some automation, right? They're going to automate more elements of the encapsulation, of the packaging, of the label design and printing and all that stuff. Anything that's easy to automate, they're going to try to automate it. And the grading, I mean, yeah, there's like, that's sophisticated and probably like, you can't really do that with computer vision or machine vision yet because it's so subjective. But I honestly would not be shocked if they're trying to write some algorithms that use deep learning and inference and artificial intelligence and all that good stuff to try and make automated judgments about grades for cards, which obviously is going to be prone to failure. It's like autonomous driving, right? First couple of things they get out on the road are going to crash and burn and people are going to get hurt and all this terrible stuff. But once they kind of figure out how to do it and once the algorithms get good at recognizing what they're supposed to recognize, it's going to be even better than the human eye at detecting certain flaws and shortcomings and such with respect to these different cards. So I just spoke a little bit about why I wasn't surprised by the announcement at all. I'm not going to go through and relitigate like all the different numbers changes. I do want to talk about one thing that I was very interested in here, folks. Buried underneath all the price increases and all the hype and all the doom and gloom that people are talking about with the price increases, they have basically launched something that I think is new. And it's what they call these complete through dates. And this is what you're looking at right here. They are now, and I don't believe they've ever really done this before. This might be sort of new. I think it's brand new, to be honest. I haven't seen this before. But what they're doing now is publicly disclosing how far along they are in their backlog. So if you look at this complete through date, it tells you that for walkthrough service, they are already done with everything that came in up to February 24. So they're basically all up to date on the walkthrough service. That says to me, if you send your stuff in walkthrough, you're basically going to get it in on time, right? It's going to come back pretty fast. Now, in contrast, if you look at their quarterly specials, right, they're still working on boxes that came in from June and July of last year, maybe even before. I'm sure it's an approximation and they've got some stragglers and things that are mislabeled or buried in the warehouse or whatever. So, but what this does, I like the transparency because now I know as a collector, I sent in a boatload of stuff in like the September and October timeframe last year. This says to me they're not even there, right? They're not even close, right? They've got plenty of stuff to get through before they get to my boxes from September and October and afterwards. So I guess it's nice to have that visibility because now I can kind of keep track of how they're progressing. And I know roughly when to start to expect an update on the status of my submission. I think hopefully a lot of folks will be grandfathered into the rate that you paid at the time of your submission. So for all that stuff that I sent in like October last year, I don't think they're going to do a bait and switch and suddenly charge me double for what I had thought was going to be a certain price in October or September of last year. So that's all well and good. I'll post a very scathing dissent if they try to, charge me a bunch of money for stuff that I had already submitted on a grandfathered rate, right, from a previous couple of quarters ago or whatever. So that was just some of my initial sort of stream of consciousness reactions, right, to the price increases as well as this complete through date feature that I really like that they've now published. What I want to just spend a second talking about is kind of what I think this means or what impact it'll have on the trading card markets, particularly for Yugioh. It is my opinion that the registry sets are as good as dead right now. From a new collector's perspective, right? The people that have this stuff, it's going to be worth a fortune. If you've got a finished LOB first edition registry set or Metal Raiders or literally any of them, honestly, because they're all like over 100 cards, which means you'd need to spend $20 a card on every single submission, or you'd need to buy all the PSA 10s or PSA 9s or whatever to do the sets. I mean, you're talking about something that, like, if I were to say, like, what's going to be the next moonward, like, astronomical growth area for trading cards, it's going to be some of these registry sets, because they're just getting so stupidly expensive to try to complete. Especially in Yu-Gi-Oh, if you were to try to do something at like PSA 10 or PSA 9 level quality, good luck. I mean, you'd have to have tons of sealed inventory. These grading fees are only going to keep getting more expensive. So I think what it means, big picture, is registry set was the first thing that came to my mind. It is extremely expensive to even try to take a swing at a set. So that's one thing that struck me. Another thing that strikes me about this is that most of the cards now, like the days of sending a borderline card, something that looks like pretty good, I don't think people are going to do that anymore. You're only going to submit stuff now that's like mint. And in a game like Yu-Gi-Oh, especially vintage Yu-Gi-Oh, it's over. I mean, there's not a lot of mint stuff that you could buy raw from the vintage sets anymore. It's basically all scooped up. Yes, there's a couple binders and things that hit the market occasionally. People will get lucky. I'm not saying it's impossible, but these days, like the raw card market, I don't know. I mean, I've been buying raw cards up until very recently, and I'm probably going to slow down on that because they're not going to grade 10s, a lot of the stuff that's left. And to pay $20 in a bulk submission to get like a 7 or an 8, just not worth it, in my opinion, if you're doing this from an investment perspective. So I wouldn't be shocked if we start to see the volume of like the iffy cards start to go down a lot. Just in general, I think people's submissions are going to get a lot more selective, and they're going to be less inclined to just send out every old card that they have that's a holo. They're going to be very selective if you've got to pay $20 per submission, right? I mean, that's expensive. Back in the day, I mean, I started doing this last fall or so when I don't think it was even $10. It was like $8 or something like that per card. And now it's 20 in just the span of like, I don't know, 7 or 8 months or whatever. So huge change for the industry. Big deal, obviously, for people involved in the space. I'm still processing it. I'm still reacting to it. I just wanted to get a quick video here on the books just to give you some of my high-level thoughts and takeaways here on this. Let me know what you think in the comments, folks. As always, appreciate everybody's time. Thanks again for watching. This is the Parkside Merchant Channel, and we'll see you next time.